Electrocast.
We took it all. We brought them to our land. An endless night, ember hot and icy cold. The rage of the earth. We made this curse. Carved it in the blood on our backs. We did not see. We could not, but she did. And in the end...
What will I become?
Senua's Saga. Hellblade 2.
Play it now with Game Pass.
Hold on to your butts.
We are changing the course of history as we see it. That is what Wesley demands.
Now this affects Iris. Iris, where are you?
What you feel only matters to you.
I do not entertain hypotheticals. The world as it is vexing enough.
Iris, I have a tip for you.
Don't take drugs!
Or Whatever Movies with Wesley and Iris.
What up and welcome to Or Whatever Movies. I'm your co-host Iris and I'm here with my older brother
Wesley.
Today we're talking a movie from 2024, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
And welcome to the continuation of Brian Month here at Or Whatever Movies.
You say that and you don't even realize that Brian spent the last hour schooling me on the 3 prequels to Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
So let me explain to you the singularly uncomfortable movie experience that was Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I found that one was starting when I happened to be near a theater and I went. It turned out to be 4DX. Have you ever experienced a movie in 4DX?
Yeah, I think once. Is it smell-o-vision?
Dude, no. This is, well, kind of, but inadvertently. So 4DX is the thing where it's basically they take a movie seat and they put it on a gimbal thing or whatever. That's basically the Indiana Jones adventure with a cup holder. It was crazy, and it was lurching me from side to side. They have jets in front of you with water spray. And they had a strobe light in the corner, and they had a thing in the other corner where when during particularly crazy like explosions and stuff, or when stuff would fall on the ground and create a dust cloud, it would shoot out a puff of fog, like, Halloween fog. And it was intense. It hurt, man, to watch this movie. And it started, the beginning of the IMAX movies, it's like wah da da da, and it's all huge and IMAX and epic. The beginning of this one was a trailer to show off the 4DX experience, and it was like rumbling and lurching me all over the place and blasting me in the face with water. And I think the water in the tanks had been sitting in there for a while, so the water smelled bad. So that was that was kind of the smell-o-vision aspect of it. Man,
that's why I keep on going ew, because I would be so grossed out if like random water is spraying on my face.
Right? And there was a button to turn off the water effects, but I'm like, I'm in it because I'm reviewing this movie experience as much as the movie that I'm watching, that honestly is meant to mimic the action happening on screen. So you feel the vibrations of thundering horse hooves and explosions and stuff, but really was like, it kind of made me subconsciously brace myself for the inevitable jolt, because we'd get rocked, dude, and it was such a bizarre experience. What movie are we even discussing?
Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Did you get a little jolt every time they used the cattle prod?
Yes, and the strobe effect in the corner. The whole theater would lightning flash when they did the cattle prod, and it would buzz under my butt.
You know that the cattle prod was established in the first installment of this new generation of Planet of the Apes movies.
Thank you, Brian. Do you have him in your earpiece right now?
No, he waved coming on the episode, but this morning he was all, ooh, let me tell you something else.
Wait, he was literally like, ooh.
I was debating on telling that joke.
Dude, so...
let me tell you something else.
So...
Oh, wait, one more thing.
We talked about 310 to Yuma and the big galoot who gets he gets injured. I won't explain how. And that's the only movie I know this dude Kevin Durand from. And then he is Proximo Caesar. He is the big king ape. And he, like Andy Serkis, who was the part of the new franchise of the Planet of the Apes before this movie, he really did like 6 weeks of monkey school and really learned how to move, and the voice was born out of that physicality. But in every single interview I watched, he cannot help himself. He will do the Proximo voice, and he will jump out of his chair and do the ape walk, all stiff-armed across the studio. And they'd be like, let's go to a clip. And he'd go, ooh, ooh. And his wife is asking him to stop, and he can't stop.
Kevin Durand, the actor, I said would make a good Elon Musk.
Yeah. He's just
in The Inevitable.
But he's gigantic. I think on one of the talk shows, Michael Strahan was a host on one of these Good Morning America type shows or whatever. And he got up and he dwarfs this ex-professional football player. He's massive, like a king ape should be in this movie, The Last of the Monkey Cans.
Yeah, you said monkey school. I'm not, that's not correct, right?
Monkey College? Simian University?
Monkeys are a different species than apes.
See, you say that, but he was a bonobo, King Proximo or whatever, and bonobos are chimpanzees.
Yeah, and chimps, orangutans, gorillas, they're all apes.
But not monkeys.
No, monkeys and baboons and stuff, macaques or whatever, those are monkeys.
Jeez, take it easy. This is a family show.
But we are the apex ape species. Humans are included in.
Oh, that would have been such a better name for this movie. Apex.
Apex?
Apestraction.
So you have to use proper terminology and say Ape Academy.
Ape Academy. 20 ape days later. Apetar. The ape of water.
Okay, you haven't seen all these movies?
Look, Dad made me watch Planet of the Apes when I was little. I know what happens. This is number 4, and it is a completely new storyline. And I confess that I skipped the very last one, War of the Planet of the Apes. But I do know what happened to him because this goes on forever. There's 1,000 years between now and then, and I get it. I have ape fatigue.
How did I miss out on Dad's interest in the Apes movies?
Because I'm not sure that I was crazy receptive to it. You remember when my car broke down in 1994 at a Metallica concert, and Dad was forced to take me the next day to go and get my car in like San Bernardino County? And so the whole way he punished me by making me listen to, I had been up all night, so I was exhausted. And he forced me to stay awake by blasting Jimi Hendrix for the entire 90-minute duration to go pick up my car, because I was a dumb kid. I think it was subjecting me as kind of a punishment to the Planet of the Apes movies, because they were kind of dry and it was a little bit silly, and they were like in monkey masks on horseback in the sun and stuff, and they were running around. They're like, that's Dr. Zaius. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, well, he features into the next 3 of them, so pay attention, And I was like, please kill me. And holy cow, did this movie succeed critically and box office wise in a way that The Fall Guy couldn't hope to do. Planet of the Apes is the Peter Pan or the Tarzan of our time, where they just keep making movies about the same thing. And this one, also Peter Pan and Tarzan are the Peter Pan and Tarzan respectively of our time. But this one did really well across the board, and I'm kind of surprised as to how that is. Yes, it's a successful franchise, but it's also kind of starting from scratch, although apparently not from what you're saying, that it has all the tie-ins to the previous films.
Can I go see it in 4DX?
You can, but I was in for, and honestly, this thing, because I resisted when you said that Brian was going to make you see it, I was like, come on. But then I went and saw it anyway because the movie start time was so perfect. But when I got into 4DX, I was like, this ain't for me, bruh, and I need to leave this theater right now. But I knew that they would never get me back in the seat for Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, so I stuck it out, even though the whole time the theater tried to jolt me out of the seat.
You knew that who would never get you back in the seat?
Me. And Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. It's like, it's now or never. Just stick it out and talk about it on the podcast.
All right, well, let's actually talk about it then. They're not agrarian, they're not...
Oh, God.
They're not indigenous. How do you classify their hawk society?
I don't.
Hawk breeding society?
They're...
Primitive.
Yeah.
They're primitive.
They're primates, for God's sake.
So they've created this primitive hawk rearing and training society where they live peacefully and off the land and in harmony with the land. You know, they have their own domestic issues, the classic and eternal, father-son tension and all that kind of good stuff. But nothing compares to how Noah's world is completely broken open, and it's really a coming of age story.
Oh my goodness!
With a primate, with an ape.
It's a coming of age story.
Which, weird. I'm not expecting any people, and I'm completely invested in Noah's story.
Wow. But this is like, you're like, oh, is it agrarian? Is it egalitarian? What kind of society is this? It's like saying in the history of porcine characters, we have Wilbur from Charlotte's Web, and we have Babe from the Babe movies and stuff. Where does this fit in to the world? But it's Peppa Pig. So it doesn't really. This is a kid's movie. This is the Maze Runner or whatever, but with apes. And it is a coming of age story, but you're like, oh, but they have a bird rearing society and stuff. And they learn all the stuff that humans, but he also, the master of birds, has bird feathers on. And it's like, ape, no like work. He is your father, and I am his son, and killed my father, destroyed my village. I follow their tracks. He was my village. They killed him. The masks. I am Raka, And it's like apes falling from the sky. And it was like a coming of age story, like Poor Things is a coming of age story because they're basically children. It's like watching toddlers enact Lord of the Flies.
First of all, you got the cadence is not quite right.
Sing the song, please. No,
exactly.
My father was Lord of the Birds. He sang, not me.
You have to. There's definitely the pause before the end of the sentence, so you got to get the cadence right.
But they stop in the middle of stuff, and you're like, right, but they're on the verge of this breakthrough of understanding of their world and surrounding them, but we can't identify with them. It's like if you land on 4 appendages, that is 4 times the safety. And you're like, look at that. He's making connections, comparing them to the humans. But then he's like, what is that horse with stripes? And you're like, come on, dude. We're like teaching toddlers how to understand what they see around them.
And I could never quite get used to the 2-legged walk. It just seems like there's something wrong with them when they walk that on 2 legs.
Their hips are fused. There's no torsion in their torso. They have to walk like that.
And so it just ruins the effect when they go bipedal. But the point is that they're happy and harmonious.
Are they?
Yes. Well, in the bird society, right?
Yes.
And then their bubble is burst, and this illusion that their world was the world is shattered. And so Noah has to incorporate what he learns about the world into his understanding, but he's still loyal to his village. And in fact, even after everything he knows, his goal is to rebuild their little primitive hawk society. And so they're not that smart, and they haven't reached the heights of human knowledge, but humans are around for 5 million years.
It's a tunnel that eats light.
Before we were zapped with the virus that made us as brilliant as we are now.
And then Noah, he goes to it's like the coming of age where the country boy goes to the city and the city is run by a dictator. And he's like, no, but simple way of life. And this is how it should be or whatever. And he is literally the the ape wrench in Proximo Caesar's plan.
Stop calling him Proximo.
What's his name?
Proximus.
Whatever. Proximo is from Gladiator.
Exactly. So Proximus Caesar, his vision is pretty short-sighted as well. He's like, I want all of human intelligence. And once we pull off this great, I'll have all human intelligence.
Have you heard of evolution?
And you realize, he doesn't quite understand what it is that he's attempting to obtain, But the gist is right. He knows that the humans have acquired all of this information and they've stored it in this vault. I don't know how he knows that. That might have been revealed when I went to the bathroom. How does he know that the humans locked all the stuff in the sea vault?
I don't know. She had what was her name? Nemo, Neva. She had
Nova. They're all Novas.
Yeah, they're all Nova. I guess that in itself is a throwback to the original female character in Planet of the Apes, who was Nova, and now they're making this excuse by calling this one Nova that we call all of them Novas.
We took it all. We brought them to our land. An endless night, ember hot and icy cold. The rage of the earth. We made this curse. Carved it in the blood on our backs. We did not see. We could not, but she did. And in the end,
What will I become?
Senwa Saga. Hellblade 2.
Play it now with Game Pass.
But whatever. She had a better understanding of the hard drive than they ever could have, right? It's like instinctually she knows what human tech is. But I don't know how he knows. I was probably being jolted around and was a little bit distracted, so I didn't see that bit. But he said it's immediate evolution in the vault, and that's what he was after. Maybe because it seemed like that was a human stronghold of intelligence once upon a time, as legend stated. This is where the humans do intelligent human stuff, and thus it must be where apes, striving to be as the humans once were, would find the key to technology or whatever.
Right, and so you know that Proximus Caesar is bad because he's a big ape, and he didn't rise through the ranks because of his intelligence or his compassion, but because of his brute force.
Right. And while they are all omnivorous, he had big, giant, scary fangs.
Oh, yeah, he did. Well, and he was also willing to sacrifice chimps left and right.
Right.
Left and right.
Left and right. Got it.
But then we always have the friendly, wise orangutan, Raka, and he was pretty smart. Raka could read.
But he still spoke in halting, broken English. It was fine. But again, Raka existed for exposition, mostly.
Well, and to represent a kinder, more benevolent ape that believes that, humans and apes could coexist, like Caesar did.
He's the tribal elder. They're all tropes. And it was, I get that half of this movie was technological feat, but this runs the same risk that the Jurassic Park and World movies experienced, was that the first one we have such reverence for because it blew our minds. Like, there are dinosaurs. But by the third movie, that gets really old. And you're like, okay, you got to do better stuff. And you're like, wow, they're apes, but they're talking and they're on horses. It's been like 9 movies, dude. We're over the ape thing, and it's got to boil down to story, and it's still a basic coming of age. There's the wise elder, young Padawan or whatever. Don't go into the thing where the emperor is brutal and is guarding the secret to its power or whatever. It's the same movie for kids, and that I can't ignore that, unfortunately.
So I just got distracted by the spectacle and how realistic their eyes moved.
The monkey tech isn't as impressive anymore unless, as an adult, you look at it from the unique filmmaking perspective that Wes Ball had to examine, which is that he keeps saying he had to make 2 different movies. He had to film the actors in mocap giving ape performances, and then film an entirely different movie using the actual scenes and exteriors, and then placing the digital apes with Uma or whatever, what was her name? Nova, reacting to nothing. She was in a movie all by herself, and then the other movie he directed with the mocap actors, and then had to put them together. And he's all excited about how this shot looks perfect, and you can't even tell that it's 2 completely different things put together, and et cetera, and et cetera. And all that is interesting from a technical perspective. But to Paloma and Aurelia, it's just like monkeys, right? And monkeys talk. Monkeys funny, monkey kill other monkey or whatever.
Ape.
Whatever. But not to Paloma and Aurelia. Are you going to make sure that they're aware of the genus and the classifications?
Yes, they know that the animals with the shells that walk around in our neighbor's yard are turtles and not tortoises.
Because they're aquatic?
They know that they're tortoises and not turtles.
Oh, God.
And they know that the ones with the spiky shells are the males and the ones with the smooth shells are the females.
So good. And so it was a unique experience. They had the centerpiece action sets, a lot of which involved climbing, and there was a surprising dude. It seems like this movie was made for this 4DX experience, because how an unlikely amount, I would say, of this ape movie took place in or around the water. And I was like sprayed on a consistent basis with these stinky jets. It was a lot going on. And so the fight in the aviary or whatever it was, right? It was a big action set piece that involved a lot of climbing, because that's what apes do. That's what they're good at doing on camera or whatever. And then we had the similar setup in the vault, in the bunker, with the water coming in. And it seems like Proximus's kingdom, which was very small, but there was like, what, 30 apes in there?
Yeah, it really wasn't that significant. They were just importing like slave apes, and that
right?
was
It was in the Universal Studios Waterworld action stunt show set, and it was like a little enclosure or whatever. But man, when it seems like a bad location on the beach, because the tides change, but apes have no concept of tides. So when that water came in, not only did it come rushing in, but it filled up the entire vault, and they were climbing to escape the rushing water and stuff. A lot of water. And you know what's crazy about it? That Avatar enabled the new Planet of the Apes, the mocap, the advancement in digital effects allowed for Planet of the Apes, the reboot with Andy Serkis, to be made. It made it possible for them to be in wholly digital environments in some instances, in the mocap suits, and particularly water effects. So when Avatar comes around, they use the same water effects from The Way of Water for Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which I guess is why it was water heavy. But if you know that it's all CG, that's pretty crazy, right?
It is, but I mean, all the characters are CG, so why wouldn't the water or the rest of the environment be CG?
Because it's convincing, or at least it reads as convincing in the world of the Planet of the Apes. It was just an interesting aspect to show how both the original series and this new series piggybacked off the techniques, specifically those visual effects advancements of the two Avatar movies so far.
Okay. So Avatar makes advancements in the ape franchise possible. That's cool.
Yep.
All I'm hearing is enthusiasm from you, Wes.
Yeah, on a technical level, but I was getting jolted around, and I was like, we're watching toddlers figure out what zebras are, and if they weren't monkeys, this would be the most boring movie I've ever seen. Apes.
No.
Sorry.
Come on.
And I had series of hopes or whatever when the human became involved or whatever, and it was very interesting when they would come upon a field of humans in their natural habitat, and they're like, whoo, and there would be like a sound, and they'd all look around up into the trees and stuff and go back to washing or picking fleas off of each other or whatever they were doing. And I was like, this just got way more interesting, because the dynamics have been turned, and now the humans or the apes or the primates are the lesser species or whatever in terms of intelligence. And then they disappeared, and we never saw the flocks of migrating humans again. And then William Ape Macy showed up, and I was like, oh, it's going to be good. William Ape Macy, as we know from Fargo-rilla. William Ape Macy. And then she gets all primal and kills him. And at first it was like, okay, silence him. But she's basically a primate, right? And is like, and kills him outright. Why she didn't go for the face and the testes, I don't know.
Because she's a petite young woman, and she had to just go full choke him out.
I guess. And then she talked so that they could have communication, and we can identify with her or whatever.
But identifying with her was kind of icky, right? Because what humans seem to introduce to this dynamic between ape and human is that humans are cunning, and with their intelligence comes all these complications. Like the apes are like, I do this, you do not do that. And they're like, okay. And then the humans are like gonna backstab you and like betray you and like lie to you and serve their own purpose.
28 days later. So you're suggesting that the real villains aren't the apes, but the humans?
Well,
and the apes are trending toward their own self-destruction should they persist in this course of action and trying to achieve human levels of intellect and technology?
Well, the humans certainly aren't the good guys.
I know it. And that's long been a trope also, where we are the real monsters in the monster movie. And Kevin Durand maintains that Proximus Caesar, and of course Caesar was the name of the original ape, and Proximus has adapted the Caesar, and it's no longer a name, it is a title. He is the Caesar in his Roman Empire of apes. But he's maintained that Proximus is not necessarily evil. He is simply among the most human and the most intelligent. And humans are terrible, horrible, power-hungry, manipulative species. And that he is trying to do his best for power. But that doesn't necessarily make him evil. It just makes him human, which is all the more terrifying.
So, kind of interesting.
If this was 1970 and this was the very first Planet of the Apes, this would be one of the greatest movies of all time. But not to be like the 10th or 15th in the series. Because then it's just like, show me something new. And none of the story components, none of the action, nothing really was new. The height of sophistication and technology for the apes was the cattle prods. It was just exciting enough to justify the use of the flashy strobe light in 4DX. I will say, though, that the last 5 minutes was by far the most interesting. Where you're like, hang on, they're at control panels and they're at switchboards and the humans have a thing, and maybe this will lead to a better kind of show-off and confrontation but evolutionarily we are 300 years in the future, people. Like right now the species is so split that we have dum-dums, washing themselves in the river, and then we have the people in military uniforms kind of relearning and readapting to a technology-based society. It was an interesting component by the end, but only the very end. Westball is hoping to make more. They have 13 or 15 or 27 more movies in the pipe. Like, we have 1,000 years before we get to the events of the Charlton Heston one. By that time, nobody will be alive that remembers the Charlton Heston ones, so it doesn't matter. We can do whatever we want, because when they get there, they'll just remake the originals with updated special effects. It's never ending.
These are all prequels?
Yeah, this is a one-horse town. This is a dusty stoplight and a gas station on the never-ending road that is the Planet of the Apes.
Come on, Wes.
No.
You've been pretty nopey-mopey lately.
No, this was not.
You've been a whatever wiener lately.
This was not a good movie. This is, we need the litmus test. I need you to get Paloma to watch The Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes and see if they like it, because I'm expecting the answer is no. Official boring rating.
First of all, PG-13 and lots of violence. And I think this would raise lots of questions. So you're going to have to wait a while for Paloma's review. Maybe it's possible that our discussion has called attention to the idea that maybe this is a fairly basic storyline and a fairly basic coming-of-age tale. And that's a bit of a bummer, because I feel a little like I was distracted or taken in by the spectacle of the effects, because the CGI is really effective, and I was really invested in these non-human, distinctly ape characters. I also think that, and we didn't really touch much on this, but I think that there was something to say about the mysterious way that the storyline is revealed. It essentially is a mystery, and it's a little bit like The Village, where you realize that maybe what's outside isn't quite what you might expect it.
When Nova is holding the gun behind her back and you don't know if it's going to come out on Noah, and you're like, why is she holding the gun facing Noah? These raise interesting questions, and the end raises interesting questions where I can see that maybe it was a little bit for us not dum-dums who would find some deeper elements in those little tidbits that could speak to the future of the franchise. But because we kind of started over, this was basically The Incredible Journey with a Monkey. In that way, kind of slow, but maybe there's potential. I don't know.
I felt gratified. I felt like it was an interesting film and great CGI and kind of a fun experience to see it in the theater and raise some interesting, complicated questions that are just as complex as our humanity. And that's our discussion on Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. You got a boring from Wes. I'm guessing that translates to a whatever on your rating scale.
Evolution.
And a good from Iris. What did you think of Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes? 818-835-0473 or whatevermovies@gmail.com. Should we review the others?
No,
Yes?
God, no.
Let us know.
God, no.
And thanks for listening.
Ever thought about starting your own podcast?
Do you have a business or a message you want to share with the world?
Well, now it's easier than ever with Electricast. Hi, I'm Mark Netter.
And I'm Peter Rafelson. We're the founders of Electricast Media.
Whether you want to start a new podcast or already have one, join Electricast to grow your audience, monetize your content, and build your community.
With our simple sign-up, you get free promotion, world-class analytics, premium ads, and personal support.
Go to electricast.com and join our community today.
Electricast. Transform your influence.
Electricast. Electricast.